Well, hello, Mike. Thanks for taking part in our 6 simple questions sessions. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Simon. I'm Mike Fox. I'm the senior partner of Slater Healis LLP, firm of solicitors based in South Manchester. We're a full service firm, offices in Timperley, Sale and the centre of Manchester.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Now, we go back a long way, mainly because of my dad.
Yeah.
But do you want to give us a little bit of a story about how you ended up as senior partner at Slater Healis?
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one, because when I finished my A-levels, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, but accountancy struck me. I thought accountants always do well for themselves, so I will go to university and I will study accountancy. So I went to Sheffield University in 1973 to do accountancy. And after probably about 6 months, I realized accountancy and Mike Fox didn't go together. And Sheffield was one of the few universities in those days that, in addition to doing the 3-year LLB course, did a 2-year BA law course. And because I'd done law as one of my subsidiary subjects in the first year, I switched after 12 months to do a law degree, not knowing what I wanted to do. The only thing I was sure of was that I didn't want to be an accountant. So if you've got a law degree, then the next stage in those days was going to law college. So I didn't know what to do, so I went to law college. And that was 6 months at Chester. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do, therefore had not applied for what were called articles in those days, currently known as training contracts. So I hadn't bothered applying for any articles. So I came out of law college, and the first job I got was working in the sewers in Greg Street in Reddish. Wimpey Construction were putting some new sewers in, and my sister's best friend's fiance in those days was a surveyor for Wimpey Construction, and said, if you want a job down the sewers, Mike, you can have one. So I started working down the sewers in Greg Street in Reddish, and I'd probably been there 4 or 5 weeks when my sister's friend, who had got me the job, telephoned me because she was an article clerk at Slater Healis in Sale, and said, I know you've got your law degree, Mike. I know you've done your part 2s at Chester. Somebody didn't turn up for an interview for an article clerk. Can you get down here, because they're looking for somebody? So I basically went home, showered, got changed, went to Sale, and saw Roger Groark, who knew your dad very well indeed, Simon.
He did.
And basically got interviewed and got asked whether I could start the following Monday. And that's what got me into the law in the first instance. By default, I suppose, as much as anything. But loved working at Slater Healis back in the 70s, qualified as a solicitor for Slater Healis in Sale, but then I was a young man in a hurry, and after 4 years at Slater Healis, I left to set up an office on my own in Heaton Moor, and I had probably 20 years, very happy years, building up a business in Heaton Moor. That took us to 1999, when I got contacted by Slater Healis because some of the old guys that I'd worked with previously were still there. They asked whether I fancied putting the practice that I was a partner in together with Slater Healis, and I ended up coming home, working in the same office that I'd worked at 20 years earlier. So that's my story of ending up at Slater Healis and ending up as managing partner and more recently senior partner.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, well, thanks for that. And now we the 2 of us know that Trisha's dropped you in this, so Trisha's our normal Slater Healis representative. So when we sat around the lunch table, we always ask some personal things about the members. So every month they have a question to do. So starting off the personal side, what do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies and passions? And again, I probably know the answer to this. So.
golf, as you know, Simon. I'm a member at Sale Golf Club, been a member for a number of years. Before then, I was a member at Davyhulme Golf Club because I used to live in Davyhulme. I'm an 18 handicap golfer. Like a lot of 18 handicap golfers, I can play some good golf and I can hack round, and it's the consistency that isn't there. But I do enjoy golf. A little bit of a fair weather golfer. You're not going to get me out in conditions as we have at the moment. But if it's dry and the sun shines, I love it. I go away a few times a year with my wife, with my son, and we play golf together. Yes, I enjoy my golf.
Right. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Now, I listen to quite a few podcasts. Do you listen to any, or any you'd like to recommend?
I don't listen to many, if the truth be known, but probably about 12 months ago, 18 months ago, somebody referred me to one of these TEDx videos on YouTube, and it was the one to do with the why question, which I suspect a number of people are familiar with.
Yes.
And it's an interesting one because the chat gets you thinking about, you know, what are we? We're solicitors. We sell legal services. But why do we do it? You know, what is the purpose of our business? Very easy to say, well, you make some money. But that isn't the real purpose of it. And it's getting you thinking about why are you doing what you're doing, for whose benefit, and in what way do you want to do it? And it's looking from the inside outwards as opposed to the end product looking inwards. And I must admit, having watched it, having been referred to it, and then having watched it, the number of people that have made reference to it over the last 18 months has been quite amazing.
Yeah. I was on a meeting yesterday where somebody, this is my why, and that's what her pitch was. Yeah. So yeah, obviously somebody else has seen it. Books, we're all supposed to be reading a little bit more at the moment, so can you recommend a book?
There were two I was thinking about when you mentioned this to me. There was a film on TV the other night called Philomena.
Oh yes, yeah.
I don't know if you saw it.
No.
I recorded it and I've watched it over the last couple of nights. I wasn't terribly impressed with the film, but a few years ago I read the book, and the book is very hard hitting and worth a read. For those that don't know anything about it, I was actually over in Ireland with some pals that I used to go to school with. And one of them lived near one of these old laundries run by nuns. And we looked in the graveyard, and there were the gravestones of very young children. And it hit me hard, thinking, this is strange, this. And when I was at the airport, one of the books was Philomena, and it was all to do with a woman whose child was taken off her by the nuns at an early age and sold to America. And the story of Philomena is this woman getting in touch with Martin Sixsmith, the news reporter, and going over to America to try to find her son. I didn't particularly enjoy the film, but I would recommend the book to anybody.
Nice, right, okay. I know my mum's read it as well, and she raved about it as well. So, and the final question is, any words of wisdom you'd like to impart?
I suppose with COVID and lockdown, the one thing that strikes me at the moment that will stay with me is take nothing for granted, Simon.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can.
No, not now. If you think about the start of the year, you know, I think we all had our plans of what we wanted to be, how we were getting there, and things like that. It's just gone completely out of the window, hasn't it?
Totally.
Yeah. No, so another good one I've heard. So that's great. Thank you so much, Mike, for this. You'll be on our YouTube channel very shortly.
My pleasure. I'll thank Trish for passing, Sean.
I was going to say that. Don't forget to mention it to Trish.
I'll do that.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Hey, Simon. Bye.